Hello viewers, welcome to CodeForAny Swift UI taxi drivers apps inside. Today we need to see this here the location manager class develop as well as the API call for the update driver locations. REST API need to call this here. Let's start how to write downs inside the Swift UI. First of all, need to making here the view models for the location managers. View models need to develop here and need here the gives here the some permissions. First of all, now we need to go inside the info and we need to add here the locations related info permissions. Info playlist inside we need to set here. Now we need to add this here the privacy inside. We need to select here as a locations related privacy. We need to add here locations when in use. Add this here. Also need to add here the privacy locations use descriptions and privacy locations always use the descriptions. Need to add this here and now need to set here the text. This app need for find nearby driver location. Copy this here and to put this here like this and to configure this here the privacy policy. And also now need to go inside the sign in and compatibilities. Inside we need to set here the backgrounds modes. Enables here the locations updates. We need this here the backgrounds updates because we need to driver app sometimes we need to skin off and automatically go inside the backgrounds modes. This times we need to sending here the backgrounds locations. That's why I need this here the update locations inside the backgrounds. Now need to go inside the view models and to create here the new files and to give this here the names. Select here the Swift UI view and to create here the name as a location manager view model like this. We need to create here and we need to configure here. Now need to clear this here and to develop here the class ns object location manager view models. Set here the ns object. Also need observable objects like this we need to set and also need to set here the core locations managers delegates need this here and to configure here. Now first of all need to develop here the static share members. Need to develop here single stone class. We need to develop here and to write down here the share equal to location manager view models. We need to initialize for the share objects. Now need to define here the location manager object is equal to cl location managers and optionals like this configures here. And also need to define here the some publisher variables where we need to set here the locations is equal to need to pass here the cl locations and to give this here the locations variables as initialize as a 0 like this and another publisher variations and to find out here the degree of the rotations of the locations. Now need to get here the degree for the displaying here the animated cars for specifics which directions inside the move. Need to find out here degree and to rotate this degree to image. That's why need this here degree rotations need to set here by default as a 0 like this configures here. Now first of all we need to write down here the initialize functions. We need to call this here and override super.init into methods. We need to call this here and now need to configure here the location managers. First of all, need to give this here the location managers is equal to need to pass this here llc location managers initialize. Then after location managers dot delegates need to set here the self. Then after location managers decided accuracy you need to set this here is equal to cl locations for based for navigations. We need to select this here the accuracy and we need to configure here are the need this here and also need to write down here where we need to fix this here issue. Also need to imports for location, like this sets here, and to import this here the dependency. And now need to give this here the distance filters, location managers, question mark, give this here the distance filters as a set here as a 20 meters. And then to give this here the location managers question mark dots, we need to request for the always authorizations. We need to give this here the permissions for the allowing this here the start functions for the this tracking start. Need to call this here the functions as a location manager dots start updating locations, and also need to write down here the stop. Now location managers, and to call this here the stop location updating locations methods, need to call this here speed of the location updates. Need to get this here inside the double value. Need to write down here the let sp is equal to, need to get this here the locations object dot speed, like this gets here. So now need to check here sp less than 0, then to return here the 0, else parts here get the speeds as a meters per second. So need to get here the speed. Now need to convert into the kilometer per hours, need to convert here. If you need here the miles per hours, then to multiply by the 2.237 to multiply to get this here the miles per kilometers speed, need to get here. If you need here the kilometers per hours, then to multiply by 3.6 means the km per hours, like this. You need to get here. Now need to return here the speeds as a sp multiply 3.6, like this. We need to multiply here. Now we need to call this here the delegates for the location managers. Need to write down here the location managers did update locations functions, need to call, and also need to mark as location manager delegates are the calling here. Now we need to check here if location is equal to location dot last gets here, then to calculations here some needs. If need to check, first of all the same points are the check here self dot locations dot coordinates dot latitudes and longitudes, need to check here equal positions, then to same points are the use here. And same as now need to copy here and to paste this here. Now need to set here longitudes, like this sets here, and configure this here. So now self dots print here locations is not change same position, like this sets here, and to return these functions. No any operations are the needs. Save this here the locations dot self as a location is equal to locations, like this sets here. Now need to debug dot print here, set here the locations :/ location dot latitudes coordinate dot latitudes, and also need to print here the longitudes, like this set here. Also now need to display here the speed, update speed, is equal to, need to pass this here in these functions, need to call this here as a function self speed, and displaying here updating the speeds here. Now need to calculate here the degree. First of all, need to write here some functions for the convert into the degree of the previous locations, and now gets here the new locations between. Need to find out here the rotate degree. Now first of all, need to write here the functions degree to radius, and now need to pass here the value as a double, and we need to call this here the updates d. We need to return here return double dots pi multiply by the value and divided by 180.0 like this to return here the radius. Maybe typo here's radius, need to fix this radius. Same as now need to convert here the radius to degree, and now need to value multiply by dividing by the pi, returns here the radius. Functions get direction from coordinate, and now need to from coordinate LOC is equal to 4 locations and 2 locations, and to return this here the double value. First of all, need to find out here the from latitudes and longitudes radius, and then two longitudes and latitudes radius. We need to find out here the 4 variables. We need to write here and to save this here the value. Let we need to f let is equal to degree to radius. Give this here the value from locations dot coordinate dot latitudes. Now same as now need to copy paste this here 4 times. Now have longitudes, few latitudes and longitudes. Now need to give this here the 2 and set here the longitudes as well as here set here the longitudes. Now we need to find out here the degree functions. We need to write here as we need to get here the degree is equal to radius to degree. Give this here the value 8 and 2. Now need to pass here the sign. Give this here the value as a 2 long minus from long, and also multiply by the cos to latitudes, and same as now need to calculate here the second value cos from latitudes multiply by sin to latitudes, and minus sine from latitudes multiply by cos to longitudes minus from longitudes. Like this, to get here the degree value, we need to return here and return here the degree, and need to fix this here the value of the rotations. Now if degree less than 0, then we need to degree is equal to 360 multiply by the degrees, and we need to get this here the positive value. Like this, we need to returns and to calculate years are the needs this years. Now we need to write down here the calculates here the degree. First of all, we need to write down here the self dot degree is equal to gets direction of degree. Give this here the prompts to two locations. First of all, self dot locations, we need to pass this years, and also need to set years and to make sure this lines before setting this value, because you need to here the previous save value, and after you need to reassign the new value. That's why I need to like this assigning here the value, and two configurations are the need this years. Now we need to print here the degree of the rotations, and we need to print here self dot degree like this printings here. And now need to write down here the API calls for the update locations. First of all, need to define here the API calls names. Need to declare here, set here the static let sv update location is equal to API slash URLs, plus need to give this here the API name update locations update location, like this. Give this here the names. Now need to go inside the user view models, user home view models inside go, and now need to copy this API calls for the booking request. Now copy here, and now need to paste inside the location manager view models, and now need to write down here the mark as a API calling, and here update location like this, and also need to pass this here the update locations. No needs this here the data, need to remove here, also remove here, no needs. And now need to print here the error message, location manager error, and need to print here error dot localized descriptions, and not gets errors. Also need to print here the data for the location managers date locations, remove here, and also need to print against this value, print here the response object, like this. Need to set here. Now need to times of the, if you check here, first of all the login flags need to check. If here rival logins, also need to confirm here. First of all need to main view models share dot is user logins, and check here the service calls dot user type equal to 2 means rival logins. Then we need to call this here the API update locations, and we need to pass this here, need to write down here update location driver update driver location. Also need to change here name like this. Now need to pass here the latitudes and longitudes, and socket ID parameters need to pass here. Latitudes and longitudes parameters we need to give this here. Same as now need to pass this here the update sockets. Now need to pass here the value self dot locations dot coordinate dot latitudes value, and also need to pass this here the cell dot location dots coordinate dots longitudes, and also need to pass here the socket id. Need to call this here the socket managers socket view models dot share dot socket dot socket sid blank, then to blank value need to pass this here, and like this need to calling this here the API. And also need to go how to call this class. First of all, now need to temporary you need to set this here the user view models, and now need to calls initialize times this functions need to calling here the start locations functions need to write down here. First of all, need to write down here locations location manager view model dot share dot start methods need to call here, and to starting this here the updating the locations need to call this here. If you like this video, please give the thumbs up. If you're new user, so please subscribe my channels and press the notification bell icon. You can get every new video notifications and awesome content. If you have any question, so please write down the comment sections. I will help you and sort out your issue. Everyone have a nice day. Goodbye and take care.